Just a brief introduction. It has become increasingly clear how traditional economic models are not able, haven't been able to understand some of the crucial features of the dynamics of the economy, especially regarding the crisis, in understanding and fighting the crisis. So there have been many waves of new research in economic theory and economic analysis to improve the situation. So I'm just going to mention two of them, which are the most important to our work, which is the first one has to do with the sustainability of development. So this has to do with energy and climate change and environmental limits, planetary boundaries, and so on. So, for example, the already mentioned work by Tim Jackson, Prosperity Without Growth. Another very important reference for us was Peter Victor's model, Low Growth. And the other main area is the finance one. So the role of banks, how they create money, how they allocate money, the role of debt into the macroeconomy. So we just wanted to participate to this very exciting research in trying to establish new ways of thinking at the economy and how the economy works. So we started by trying to build a macroeconomic model of the UK. Our research question at the beginning of our work was the one that you can read. So how to manage the UK economy within environmental limits whilst delivering increasing well-being. And we chose to use a system dynamics methodology. I'll show you something about it in a minute. So this, let's say, first part of research ended last year. In October, we published a working paper, let's say a technical description of the model, which is available upon request. I mean, I can send it to you very easily. And this was before including banks and money. So at that moment, we had a very detailed framework of the of the UK economy, but at the same time, we were a bit unsatisfied by some of its features. So, for example, we had to do a lot of assumptions on some crucial parameters, and most of all, it was really difficult to manage the model. The ones among you that have familiarity with system dynamics may know how difficult it becomes when the model becomes complex to actually be able to understand the results, what the results mean, and how to change the structure. So in October 2011, we started to focus on money and banking. This is an area where the mainstream modeling performances have been very poor. And it is no surprise, actually, because in mainstream models, there is no money, no banks, no debt. There is not. And I can tell you because I recently finished a PhD in using neoclassical economics, and I used to know nothing about money because neoclassical economics just doesn't have money. That's how it goes. And I also went and looked at the macroeconomic models of central banks. So I looked at the Bank of England, at the Fed, at the European Central Bank, and they all have macro models, macroeconometric models, in order to understand how the economy works and make forecastings. And they don't have banks. They don't have. It's not like they have very, I don't know, a simplistic representation of banks. Banks do not exist in their economy. And we're talking about models of hundreds of equations. So it's no surprise that they didn't see the crisis coming, and now they're struggling to understand how to solve the crisis. So there are no banks, or if present, they're seen just as intermediaries. So taking the savings from someone that saves and giving them to some other people that want to borrow, okay? This is not how banking works. This is not how money works, because banks create new money, new purchasing power. And this was very well explained also in some of the sessions at this conference. So every loan creates a deposit. This is the main phrase. I think it's useful to understand the concept. So every time we go to a bank and ask for a loan, the bank creates a new deposit that then the borrower can use in order to pay rents or pay for purchases and so on. So it becomes effectively new purchasing power. So for example, look at this quote. By far the largest role in creating broad money is played by the banking sector. When banks make loans, they create additional deposits for those that have borrowed. So this is not some, heterodox, crazy economist. It's the Bank of England in 2007 in one of their papers. So this thing of banks creating money is clear to anyone who actually studies the topic. Among them, you can find very few economists because of the reasons I already mentioned. So usually economists do not get this part, okay? But it's quite easy to understand, because if you look at this graph, so the red line is the monetary base, so it's coins and notes and central bank reserves, and the green one is the broader money supply, including deposits. So you can see how the two lines actually diverge. They don't seem to have any meaningful relationship.